All right, let's face it. In high school, we all had that one English teacher. Well, that English teacher is me. I'm Brian Kulak, a career educator and author of The Hot Seat. Every week, I reconnect with former students, colleagues, and fascinating people to explore who they were, who they are now, and the wisdom they've gained along the way. Welcome to The Hot Seat. All right, everyone. Just like in 1999 when I had no idea what I was doing in the classroom, no idea what I'm doing now. So if you know that old Simpsons meme, old man yells at clouds, that's basically what I'm doing here. So I am going to do my best to do a live like a celebrity influencer. I'm going to invite Steve on in a minute and just have some fun with this. So again, this is the Hot Seat Live, the first one of its kind. I want you to check your flux capacitor. We're going to go back to the year 2002 with Steve Clune, who not only is a great guy, but if you remember, his mom worked at the school for a long time as a secretary, and I taught his brother Kevin too. So he's going to jump on. We're going to talk about the hot seat, high school in general, and kind of what the hot seat meant. And then he decided to go cold, and he's going to just take a question from the original hot seat list. The last one was in 2012. When he hops on, we'll get started. It looks like he's trying to get in. There he is, Steve.
Yes.
What up?
The first name I saw on the list, by the way, was Lisa McGilloway, and now I'm instantly 1,000 times more nervous
Right,
than I was.
because Lisa McGilloway was my fifth grade teacher too, Steve, and she's the one who
Yeah, she was
encouraged
my
me to be a
sixth grade
writer.
teacher. She was
Yeah.
my sixth grade
Well,
teacher,
to make
but
it
yeah.
worse, Beth Canzanese is in the house too,
Oh,
so I'm sure there's a lot of
oh
people here
my
who like at
God.
least the Beth combination for a lot of people is probably stirring up a lot of really good memories. Dude, I am so glad you're
Yeah,
the first ever guest
I'm
on
excited.
the Hot Seat Live. So
I'm
listen, I
very
don't I
excited.
don't know if everybody knows. So basically, the whole time I was marking the book and trying to get the book out there, Lisa McGilloway was instrumental, and then Steve Clune and Kaylee Collins both kind of decided to be a de facto marketing gurus and consultants for me. So we've been talking for a while. I think back to 2023 because the process to get the hot seat to the world took a little longer than we thought, but it's here now. So Steve, I just wanted to kind of start with not the hot seat, but what was your experience in high school absent of the hot seat?
I lost him.
No, you froze. Well, at least you're a good-looking guy. We can look at your face for a second. So part of what I want to do in these conversations is kind of talk through high school because I think our high school experience at Audubon was a little bit different with people like Beth Canzanese. And then the hot seat came along right around the same time as the perks of being a wallflower. So when the perks of being a wallflower came out, it was Beth Canzanese who kind of put it in my hand and said, I think you should read this. And I did that summer. And then, of course, things changed when that green cover was flashed all over the high school and then beyond. So the hot seat and Charlie were on this similar path with the perks of being a wallflower. So just a little background, if you don't know, it's in the book, but I'll kind of walk you through it. So in that 1999, that first full year, I was up in A101 at the top of A, which if you guys were in the class back then, I think I saw Lauren jump on and some others. It was 4,000 degrees up there every day. And at that time, we had just finished up a separate piece, a novel called A Separate Piece. That was a Thursday. So on Friday, because I was 23, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I was really struggling. I just kind of threw it out to the kids. And Joe Orsino, who I just texted with the other day, said to me, why don't we do what Miss Renzi does? I don't know if you guys remember. She wasn't there very long, but she taught English in the department too. And her version of the hot seat was to say a word and then you had to talk about it. I remember Joe telling me that she would say green or Russia and you just had to riff. And that was a really cool idea, but super, super hard. So that night I went home and I just kind of thought about some questions that I thought would be appropriate for seniors at that time. At the time, I had sophomore, junior, and senior. And it was a big risk, obviously, because I didn't know who was going to do it, how it was going to go. So I came up with 10, 15 questions at that time. And then the next day, I just kind of put it out there, who wants to try it? And I remember I had honors sophomores, honors juniors, and then a bunch of college prep seniors at the time, and at that time, my brother was a senior in Ms. Finkbinder's class, if you can remember that. So at the time, I just thought I'll put a chair up front and see how it goes, and it went. And the next thing I knew, I had to make up more questions because people were asking about it at the time. The chair was super uncomfortable. It wasn't what it is now. If you saw the cover, it took on a life of its own, thanks to Siobhan Sullivan, the class of '09, who made that for me in art class with Miss Dominic. So at that time, I was just hoping that somebody would answer a question. So in the book, you'll see the original, I forget, 10 or 15 questions that I started with. And then from there, it just became like things I saw, things I read, music lyrics, things in my own life at that time. Being 23, teaching in my hometown with all the same teachers that taught me in the building. So and then I just started to record questions over and over and over again before it took on. I guess I'm not the one that Steve's going to do tonight. It's about 141 questions. So Steve, welcome back. Thanks for you get a beer
Sorry, I
real
don't know what
quick. And then,
happened.
so Steve, the first thing I said was I want to kind of talk about what high school was like. I mean, forget about
Yeah,
forget about the hot seat. What was high school like for you?
it was great. I mean, I thought that, I look back on it now, 20, 23 years out. And yeah, like as you move through life, you meet people and you sort of compare your childhood,
Yep.
right? That's just like something you do, and everybody talks about those experiences. And as I've met people and I've lived in some different places and met people from all over the place, like you realize kind of like where you stack up, and I at 41 years old, I think I was I was pretty lucky with like the teachers that I've had. We just named two of
Yeah.
them.
Right.
There's a ton more.
Yep.
I actually got my copy of the book yesterday. And so I did start reading it. So full disclosure, I saw the first 10 questions, but I'm not going to pick 1 through
Yeah.
10.
You got to go 11 to
Yeah,
141. Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
go. I already know what I'm gonna pick.
Okay.
But yeah, I got just through like the first couple chapters and was reading some passages to my wife, and the bit about Don coming into the classroom,
Yep.
which is like right at the beginning of the book.
Yep.
And like her response to that was, I never had an experience like that in high
Yeah.
school. Like any of this,
Yeah.
and she moved all over. Her dad was like an executive at General Motors, and she lived all over the place. She got some great experiences. Private schools, public schools. She actually graduated from Shawnee. So she's had a bunch of different educational experiences, and yeah, it just that just kind of hit me last night for sure that we were lucky to have the crew that we had.
Yeah. And I think for us as young teachers at that time, I would say right back at you. I mean, it's easy to have cool ideas that you can try with cool kids, but they don't
Yeah.
all work, and a lot of my ideas didn't work. But the hot seat did. So I remember your crew so distinctly, especially because you and John, were attached to the hip all the time. Then I taught two more Clearys, and I love that family. But it was, I had to figure out what I was gonna allow in terms of answers, how personal things were gonna get,
Yeah.
when I had to cut it off. I was so naive to think that I could ask questions about abuse or um, addiction or whatever and think that kids would answer and it was just going to be fine. So really,
Yeah.
the onus was on the onus was on the audience as much too. Like, am I allowed to laugh at this part? Like, this is really hard to hear, or this is a
Right.
really good answer. There's no way I'm going to be able to do that. So the inception had nothing to do with public speaking. Like, I didn't even have a public speaking unit in my head. This was like a Friday activity to kind of survive as a young teacher. So I guess my
Yeah.
next thing for you, Steve, is like, why do you think you did it? Why do you think it worked? At that time, we're talking 2002, which is a lifetime ago for so many of us. What do you think? Why were you so comfortable in the hot seat?
Okay. So yeah, I don't know that I would say that any of us were comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, I think that was kind of the thing. It was like doing something. uncomfortable, but
Oh yeah, you
in
said that as
in
well.
like in,
Yeah,
yeah, like in a comfortable space, like
right.
in a and like our class, our class. I was trying to think about it last night. What do we have? 15 kids in
Yeah, it
our
was
class. Like
small.
I can close my eyes and imagine that we were maybe like 4 or 5 rows wide and like maybe 3 desks deep. Like it wasn't a big group, and if I had maybe a little bit of help from like Kaylee,
Yeah,
we would probably be able to come up with every single person that
yeah,
was in that class.
yeah.
It was, yeah. Kaylee's saying we were not comfortable.
You faked it really well, man. I couldn't tell. That's funny.
Um, okay, so maybe it's this, like part of it, right? At that age, uh, it was like getting to kind of do an adult thing, right? Like, oh, like I'm gonna get to like pretend, like not pretend, but like I'm gonna get to like take a shot at like being mature about talking about this thing,
Yeah,
in front of my friends and kind of get some like I don't know, cred for like being brave enough to go up there
yeah,
and say it. And it was also like I don't remember all the details of like all the exact logistics of how we did it, right? But because I think if I remember correctly, once somebody picked a number, that was kind of like off the table,
correct. Yep,
right?
yep.
Yeah. And it wasn't like off the table for like the
Just your
whole
period.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So yeah, I mean it was kind of like I don't know. I remember there being like a lot of discussion, like somebody else was up
right.
there and they got a question, and it was like everybody was like, "Oh, I want to answer that
Yep,
question," and like, what
yeah,
question am I going to get? So it was just this very, there was like this intrigue to it, and yeah, it was just a great exercise, and then on top of that, you graded us for that
yeah,
stuff,
yep.
right? And was it considered like a quiz
No,
grade? Like what was like
it
a
was
homework
no.
assignment?
It was quite
Like
literally the easiest test grade in the history of public education.
okay,
I mean,
so
if
it
you
was a
did it,
straight
you
up
got an
test.
A. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I did, and, it's funny because I talk about grading in the book because I didn't care about the grades, and over time, no one really cared. No one asked me what they got after a
Yeah, I
certain
don't
amount of time.
remember.
It didn't matter.
Yeah,
But I think I have to go back to give you guys credit because for me to try that with you guys meant that I trusted you as much as you trusted me, and I think that's a big part of it. Like that could have imploded. I mean, you're talking like superintendent and board of education. Like, what is this
yeah,
guy doing with my kids? But it never did. It just never got to that point. And I think the audience participation was so powerful because you were safe in the audience. You weren't in the chair. So I could listen to Steve Clune's answer in
right,
the chair and say, I had a really good point, but I'm back here and all eyes aren't on me. And I know I won't get that question. And then I found out later that
right,
kids would talk about certain questions in lunch and know what to avoid, or I really want that question. And if questions worked, I kept them in there. There's questions on there that were not good, that were just boring and generic and just didn't have good answers. So I took them out, and that was all just based on how you guys reacted to it. So it was
yeah.
a really like symbiotic thing with us. It was all based on trust. And I know I just said this before, but I go back to Beth Kanzani. So like I think these ideas all kind of started when I was in her class. I mean, we did so much thinking and introspection and just discussion in that. It was called international relations in 1994.
IR.
So yeah, IR exactly. So the best teachers steal from the best teachers. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
So I guess that another question is like, do you remember any of your question and responses, or does anything stand out from a classmate that?
Um, so I don't know, this is one of those things where it's like 23
Yeah,
years
that's
ago,
fair. Yeah,
right? When I got a peek at the first 10 questions yesterday, for some reason, I feel like I remember getting the when's the last time you cried
really.
question. Yeah. Like it just really stuck out to me. And here's the crazy thing. I like this has to be true because it's just like it was totally, instant like reaction. I think I lied about it.
Shocker. A high school boy lying about crying in front of his male teacher. What are the chances?
And I can't tell you what the real, I obviously don't remember, but the thing is, my great grandmother died that
Okay.
year. And it wasn't like I cried all the time. I still
Yeah,
cry all the time.
yeah,
So there's
yeah.
no, you know what I mean? Like that had happened like months before I think I got that question, but it was probably the first thing that came to my mind. And I was
Sure.
like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
this is acceptable for me to say this. So I really do think that was one that I got. But no, I honestly I don't have a distinct like memory. And I think it was just like you posted something maybe here about writing this book, and I think I sent you an email, or I don't know if I just sent you a direct message on here. But like as soon as I had not thought about it in so long,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah,
And as soon as you posted that, it just like came back to me.
yeah,
Like, and not the specifics, but just that exercise and like that class
yeah,
and the people that were in the class and the books. Like
yeah,
you mentioned,
yeah,
perks
yeah,
earlier.
yeah,
And there was just a lot of you definitely, like you said, like you trusted us, which I think we all really, really appreciated because it's not something that happens a lot
yeah.
to kids that age. Like people just blindly like, here, I'm just going to trust that you guys can handle this.
Yeah, and there's also like part of the old school brain teaching philosophy that I kind of talked about in my first book is like I know the information you don't. I'm going to give it to you, and then you're going to give it back to me in a test form, and then we're going to move on. And I just
Yeah.
couldn't. I just hated that whole like narrative that that's the way education should be. So like again, the hot seat was born out of complete panic. I just didn't know what I was doing. And then it became more than it was. And what you don't know because you had graduated is it was years later that I started to make it part of a platform on public speaking. So some of the people who are on here or watch it later will remember like the public speaking unit that was born from the hot seat was all over the place. Like I had one called the antithetical speaker. So you had your goal was to argue against something that's inarguable, like air or babies or toilet paper. You had to protest against something that
Okay.
was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Another one was called Finish My Story. So I would just start a story from my life and I would stop and sit in a chair, and that kid had to finish the story any way he saw fit. But the point was, I'm trying to develop these like impromptu skills that would help you in the real world, but also make us laugh and also make us kind of relax and disarm us, and then give you a nonsense grade because no one cared about the grades. And at one point, I started to feel some pressure, I think, from my principal at the time. So I got a pitch counter because I was coaching baseball at the time. So I would click kids. It's in the book, but I click kids for every like hair flip, knuckle crack, sit back, and then I would like we have to reflect on why. And since the book's come out, I had so many messages about how the hot seat has helped people. I had one, he's not on here, I don't think, but a kid named Jake Davey who lives right next door to my grandparents and my mom. And he said he had to give a eulogy recently for his grandfather, and he used and remembered some of the things that happened in that class because it resonated. So like
Right.
I think for you, same thing for you. Like I don't think people are sitting around the campfire talking about the hot seat at 41 years old. But when it comes up and when there's a conversation about public speaking or high school, I'm just glad that it's still kind of in the lexicon of the kids who went to high school at that time. So
Yeah.
it was, and again, I mean, I know she's on here and she'll be on here next week, but I mean, Kaylee was a big part of the hot seat. If I needed someone to go, if we were running stale, I knew she would go up there and say something really powerful. And that's why she has a chapter devoted to her in the book. In fact, and she knows this, but I would say to you guys, like the book started really because of her. So I started writing stories about the hot seat when I first started it, but it was when she answered her question about reincarnation. I was like, oh my, I think there's something here. So
Yeah.
I started writing everything down. And what is not in the book is how many times I failed when I pitched it. So I pitched this like 15 years ago. And the first publisher who responded was like, this sounds like a great idea. I'm going to read it. And then crickets. So my confidence, plummeted. And it wasn't until the Level Up Leadership came along and I got published that I knew this was going to make its way to the world. But like I said in my video the
Okay.
other night, like it really all I care about is like now talking to you and Kaylee next week and all the friendships that I have with former students like that are 40 years old now, like yourself. That's the good stuff. I mean, everything else is kind of. I don't think people understand how much I value people like you and all the people whose relationships formed in that chair. So I thank you for doing this and
Yeah.
for being the guinea pig. Um, so you said you want to do hot seat live now, but you don't want a heads up. You have a number in your head.
I have a number in my head.
Okay.
Um, can I ask you one
Please,
question though
yeah,
before we do it? Do we have
ask
enough
away.
time? Okay, so uh, like you said, what year teaching was I? Like your maybe like your second or
I
third
started
year? Third year?
in 1999. So
So third year
99,
or
oh yeah, was my
fourth
fourth year.
year?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh, okay. So do you think that the fact that you were so young and that you knew like this was also a really comfortable situation for like you knew a lot of kids that you were teaching,
yeah,
right? You knew the names, you knew the older
yeah,
siblings,
yeah.
you knew the like did that give you a little bit more confidence to
It's a
like
really good question.
push some of this stuff? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like
I do.
if you had graduated and gone and taught somewhere else, and then like came back to Audubon or whatever, would it be different?
It's a
I
great.
guess
It's,
is the
it's a great
question.
question. That's a hot seat question in itself. So thank you. So I think there's two parts to that. I think there was confidence, but I think the confidence was built on like the ridiculous amount of pressure I put on myself as an alumni. So I am in the hallway with Greg Francis and Casey Clemens, who are two of my best friends and most influential
Yeah.
mentors,
Yeah.
aside from Beth and Lisa, who are on the call.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how, my friends who are on the call will tell you I spent so much time in those first few years so panicked about tenure and just doing a good job because this is if I fail here, I don't know where I go next, right? So I think the hot seat
Solid.
was it was far from a Hail Mary, but it was a little safer than that. I knew that if it didn't work, someone would pull me aside and like, dude, this is a really bad idea,
Right.
man. Like this is like putting your feet up on the desk and reading the newspaper in study hall. So and no one said that. So as time went on, the best marketing for it, Steve, was siblings. Like you came to my class, so Kev knew about it, right? So when John
Yeah.
came to my class, Kevin and Kathleen knew about it. So it kind of made its way to the younger grades. So when I knew it had legs, that's when I started taking more risks. That's when
Okay.
the questions got a little deeper. But I think it's a great question because I think I can't imagine my career not starting at Audubon. So I don't know if I would have had the confidence if I went to Shawnee, like your wife, or Collingswood, where I am
Right.
now, or Haddon Township, where I live. I don't know if I would have, because I think it'd be easier to be like, this guy's crazy. What is he? I don't want this guy near my kids, as opposed to, it's just cool. Like, I mean, it's cool. We know
Yeah.
him. So I think there was some safety in it. I've literally never thought about that until you just asked me that. So that's a great
Do you
question.
also all right, small follow
Yeah,
up.
please.
You had to have a little bit of confidence that Miss Cans was going to have your back if somebody did have something to say about it.
You know,
Like there were some out of the box thinkers already at
yeah,
Audubon,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think
But
Lisa was probably at Mansion at the
Miss
time,
Cam
right?
Anthony's
Maybe
has
not
had my
yet.
back for 40 years. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I stole so much from her. And the other person that is not on the call, but he'll be at the party, and he's in the book, is John Scribonia, who, the story of my career. This is a deviation from what we're talking about, but what happened was I was student teaching, and John Scribonia called me and he said, "Listen, Mike Narducci died. He was in guidance. I'm being pressed into action and guidance. My job is going to be available. I would love for you to take it." And I'm like, I mean, my mentor, the person who made me want to become a teacher, is calling me on the phone saying, just get your A in student teaching and the job is going to be yours. I'm telling you. So that's how I got the job. So again, you're talking about this confluence of things that came together, which, I always say morbidly started with Mr. Narducci, who was a legend there, dying unexpectedly. Um, but when I got there, it was Beth who took me under her wing. And I think, I'm only 4 years removed. So I was just in her class 4 years ago. And the memories that were made in that class, I still remember some of the projects that we did and the conversations that we had. So I'm sure I ran that by her at some point. And I know that we talked about the hot seat in professional development when we weren't paying attention to the boring workshops that we were part of, we had to go to. And then I started taking risks with things like perks, and then I started teaching the road and Joe College and swimming and backroads. These books that I probably shouldn't have been teaching, But I think I knew I had this veteran person in my back pocket who is a dear friend and continues to be. I wouldn't. Now we're getting back to the first question, Steve. I wouldn't have done that if I went somewhere else. There would be no Beth Kanzanese. There would be no.
Yeah.
Herb Holroyd was a huge influence on my life in a completely different way. But that was the cocoon that was Audubon at that time. I don't know what Audubon's like. I haven't been there for 11 years, but at that time, it was a wonderful place to learn and grow with people that helped you learn and grow as awkward teenagers. So I think I felt a duty to give back in a way that would be more resonant, and that's why we're having this conversation 25 years later.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great question.
For sure. All right. I'm
Ready?
ready for my question.
All right.
Yeah. All right. I'm going with 23 because it's been 23 years.
All right. So before I ask the question, one of the things I love about the hot seat is that so many times the question found the person. So no matter what question you picked, it might land on your current relationship in high school. It might land on, a fight you just had with your parents or some fear that you have. I'm not saying this happened here because I'm not sure that it did. But my
Okay.
point I wanted to say earlier is like sometimes the questions found you, and that's where like the cosmic forces coming together. Like this is supposed to be asked me now. That's how the chapters were formed. I think so many of the people that are in the book in the chapters were in it because their answers were based on questions that found them. So it was. I'll never forget some of the ways that happened. And I'd be like, oh my God, I cannot believe the best were the
This
questions where it's
person
like,
got that question.
or like
Yeah.
boyfriend and girlfriend in the class. That was my favorite thing. Boyfriend's in the chair, girlfriend's in the third row. What do you look for in an opposite sex? And then it's like, oh my, and then everybody's like, oh my God, oh my God. And there's some stories I can't tell on here, but maybe later. There was one chapter actually, Steve, that got cut, and it got cut. It was about relationships, and the kid in the chair, who I'm still very close with, and I think is a great guy, answered for me, and the answer was something about cheating, right? The high school level cheating. So he tells me later off to the side that he was in the chair and the question about cheating. His girlfriend was in front row, and the girl he was cheating with was 4 rows back at the same time. And I'm like, I'm not gonna say his name. I'm like, dude, are you that question? Why did you answer that question? You could have vetoed, man. Seniors have the veto power. He's like, nah, I want to. It was wild but that stuff happened all the
That's
time. He's
crazy.
like, it was crazy. All right, 23. This is real 23 from the hot seat 2012. Do you consider yourself a better talker or listener? Here comes a requisite pause. Good. You listened to what I said. Pregnant pause.
Well,
Wait,
no, the funny
wait.
thing is, I'm thinking because Lisa and Beth are both on here, and I think they would give opposite answers for me for this one. Because Lisa had me for in sixth grade, and Mike Heller, who I
Oh,
don't know if
yeah.
you ever had Mike, but Mike and I were really close. He was my best man at my wedding,
Yep.
and I think we drove her absolutely nuts,
At
and
least if that's true, comment
were
below.
so hyper and annoying. And she used to give us detention, and we would be like, "Yes, we want to hang out with you after school. This is awesome!" Like it was just insufferable. And then Miss Cans uh, used to say that I would literally like pay attention and make eye contact with her while she was teaching, like so intensely that it would make her uncomfortable. So I don't know what that says about me, like from sixth grade to whenever I had
Yeah, yeah.
international relations. What would that have been
Probably
like, 10th
12th. I mean,
grade
it's
or
12th
ninth,
for me.
or
Yeah.
12th grade? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Stevie eyes. See, she used to suggest that was it. I forgot about that. Yeah. So,
That's
man, this
funny.
is tough. Okay, I think I'm above average at both of these things.
Okay, that's
But
fair.
what am I better at? I guess I guess I have to go like I have to gotta go listening. I think I'm a better at listening. Um
Is your wife around?
like
Should we ask her?
relative she's not. She's coaching right now.
Okay.
Um Relative to the general population, I
Yeah.
guess it like, where do I stack up? I would say probably listening. And
Okay.
I think that's just because people in general are pretty bad listeners. And I think that
That's
I've had to put some effort into that just in my professional,
sure.
career. That's definitely been something that has helped me be successful professionally, is actually paying
Yeah.
attention to what's going on and listening to people. Um, so yeah, I guess that's my
So
answer.
yeah, so there you go. The first hot seat live answer in 25 years, 26 years, thanks to Steve Clune. You brought one thing
That
up
was
that
an
was
easy
it
one.
was that was a
I was
layup.
really
It was a
nervous
layup,
that I
and
was
people
gonna
are
get
going to
one.
think that
Like
we set it up, but we did not set it
I
up. That was
didn't.
23.
I would have picked a harder one. To be honest, if I was gonna go like pick, I would have picked a hard. So maybe I'll have to come back and get one. But
Well, yeah,
that
we'll
was a
get
good
you.
one, though.
Yeah, we'll get you a harder one. The thing that you mentioned there before we break is that the unintentional um, byproduct of the hot seat was forcing active listening, right? Like people wanted to hear the question and they
Yeah.
wanted to hear the answer. So even if they didn't tune into most of life or didn't like school or English or whatever, that gave them a chance to think about what was being said and how it would apply to them. So I never really thought much about the listening piece until I started to shift what I wanted the audience to do. Like when you guys did it, it was like
Oh.
bing bang boom. You sit down, then but then everybody has a chance to talk about it. But as time went on, I started to say to the kids, when this person's finished, I want to know, what'd you see, what'd you hear? So that was the first thing that we had to do. So they would say, I saw him fidgeting, or I saw him with great posture. And then what'd you hear?
Right.
I didn't hear any fillers. I heard honesty. So they had to like comment on what they were seeing and hearing as a way to encourage them on what to do or what not to do the next time they were in the hot seat. So that's a good. I didn't really think about listening until you got that question, and that wasn't easy. That was a layup. There are much harder ones in the mix. So maybe Kayla will get the hard one. Maybe we'll set it up next week for Kayla to get a really hard one
Yeah.
because she couldn't do this week because she's getting her hair done. She has to beautify. It was like 7 hours ago her appointment, but she couldn't be here at 8 o'clock. But nonetheless, we'll see Kaylee next week on the hot seat live. Steve, I really appreciate you being here. I got to be honest with you, I was super nervous for this. I was more nervous for this than most of what I've ever done. I don't know why.
I wasn't.
Because of the hot seat. Because of the hot seat, you were so prepared for this
Exactly.
exchange back and forth.
Exactly.
Listen,
Exactly.
the other thing is I really appreciate all the these guys that are watching don't know how much you've done for me with marketing and advertising and
Nah.
just ideas that you've had. It's not my wheelhouse, and you've stepped up big time for me. So, are you going to come? Are you going to be able to be there on the 7th?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'll be there. And yeah, man, I mean, really awesome. The first book, great. This is even, hits even closer to home for all of us. So I think everybody's excited to support it. Good luck. I mean, it really is. It's one of those things. It's you. It's the whole experience at Audubon at that time. You
Yeah.
said it. It was great.
Right.
Just reading that first chapter, and you recalling Don coming into the classroom,
Yeah.
and like just like his EQ,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
ability
Yeah.
to just
Sure.
be like have that bro jock sense of humor, but
Yeah.
then also have this like crazy high
It
EQ.
was a crazy story, man. Like when
Just
he talked
good.
about that, it was. I just texted him the other night and told him,
Yeah.
I hope he can be there. It was EQ. It was vulnerable, and he's like a 6'4", athlete
Yeah.
principal at the time.
Yeah.
So it's a good point. So look, I think I'm looking forward to the next few of these. I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys on the 7th. It's going to be really emotional for me. A lot of hugs, a lot of thank yous. But I think there's nobody better to start this whole thing off than you. So I really appreciate it, bud. All
Thanks,
right, dude.
man. Thank
Say hi to
you.
your mom and Kev for me. All right. All
I
right, dude.
will.
See ya.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.
See
I'll
ya.
post the question for you guys to answer later. Thanks for coming. See ya. All right, hot seaters, thanks for tuning in. Before you go, here's how to stay connected. Follow me on Instagram at Brian_Kulak. Check out more resources on my blog over at briankulak.net. Pick up a copy of The Hot Seat or my other book, Level Up Leadership, both available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And please, if you found value in today's conversation, leave us a rating and a review. It truly helps others discover these stories. Share this episode with someone in your life, hit subscribe, and I'll see you next week for another conversation in The Hot Seat.